7 o'clock. We will go ahead and get started. Um, Thanks everyone for joining. We have a small group, but I imagine that that'll give us a more intimate time so we can really get in the thick of this. But we have Miss Susan Robinson, and she's going to come and give us some information on Thrive. And so I will let her have it.
Right. So I have been with the state wellness program since 2006. When we first started, it was called OK Health, and EBD was an agency, EBC. And the program obviously has grown tremendously since then. It had been just me since the pandemic, since 2020. The other person went to another position, and so I finally got somebody hired. Last May, I finally got somebody hired. And so hopefully we're going to be able to grow. So I actually taught in higher ed before I came with the state. I taught it right out of grad school. I taught at OU, and that was a good experience. Then UCO, and Emporia State, and then Southern Nazarene University there in Oklahoma City. Emporia is in Kansas. And so my presentation, how I'm going to do this is I like to lay a foundation. Anybody that's taught in higher ed can tell you we like to lay the foundation, and there's a reason why we have you take those core classes. And anyway, I like to start with the history of Worksite Wellness. So I know that you guys are in public health, and I have been part of that, and I even taught community health at UCO, and it's an impact group. So my community is the employees. And so anyway, it's a lot of what I can apply is also again, it's my community, but you can use these things, especially if you're working with community in your community businesses. I know they have I think where she met me, Victoria, I spoke at the Certified Healthy Business thing. So, all right, let me get going here. So I'm going to talk about the overview first. The concept of employee wellness actually started back in the 1600s. So they just really started thinking about the employees, and not just the employees working and making money. In the 1870s, when Thomas Edison was developing the light bulb, there was a quiet revolution stirring, in the workplace. The movement was to take care of employees, and it kept simmering. That's a good thing, simmering, for more than a century before expanding into actual corporate wellness. So then in the 50s, they started thinking about the employees' mental health, not just their physical health, but their mental health. So that's when EAP programs emerged. And then true worksite wellness programs began to exist in the mid-70s. So Johnson & Johnson was kind of the ringleader that started this. They had their Live for Life program, kind of as a prototype for many corporate wellness programs. And so it involved getting to know your employees' health status. Okay, so I know that in your community and what you're doing in public health, you always want to know the health status. If you've taken health promotion program planning classes, if you have public health degrees or health promotion degrees, then you know about the Pre-Seed Proceed program. And that is, you've got to find out the status of your employees. And anyway, we got with those kind of questionnaires. They wanted to collect information on everybody. They looked at body fat. Believe it or not, we have a InBody machine. If you're in Oklahoma City next week, we're doing our health expo, our big one, and we do it at the Capitol. And Ryan, my assistant, his exercise science background. Anyway, we're going to do body composition measurements. You just step on the thing, hold the thing. That's it. It's not the pinching, that they used to do. Anyway, we're going to do that. And body comp means it tells you what your lean tissue, muscles, bones, smooth, everything compared to what percent of your body is fat. And so it gives you also water, it gives you a lot of good information. So about yourself. So anyway, they did that. They wanted to control the weight though. They were about weight control. And so they focused on nutrition and stress management. Anyway, it all was about the bottom line. Why they did this is what's going to save our company. So they looked at how it was going to reduce absenteeism, other costs related to illness, and so they also found out that having a fitness center or wellness program actually attracted top talent. So believe me, that was a big draw back then. So then a different approach started happening. They started getting published. Journal of Occupational Environmental Medicine looked at how the people that had good wellness programs actually were like in the top of production, and these companies, looked at that. Hey, look at where our production is. We have a lot of good productivity, less absenteeism and stuff. So people started paying attention. And so you want to feel healthy. When you feel healthy, you're better at work and there's less presenteeism. How many's heard that term? Presenteeism is when you're at work, but you're not at work. It's like you could just put your clothes there, say you're at work, because you don't feel good. You're not, and many people come to work not feeling good. Even mentally, they're not able to focus, those kind of things. So anyway, that was important for employees to feel valued and to want to motivate them to take care of their health. Yes, a lot of it first was about, the money saved with healthcare costs and those kind of. But when you have a wellness program, it makes your employees feel valued. It's the bottom line. So that since nearly 150 years have passed since the infancy of corporate wellness, the employers learned that the programs address the whole person now. Okay, that's what's currently like. I know Thrive. We actually focus on 8 areas of well-being. It's the same thing as the federal mental health SAMHSA. It's what they follow because they're figuring out that when they're in therapy with people, that you have to focus on the whole person, the whole body and everything about that person. So they're trying to still answer the question, same old questions for that long. How do employees bring their full potential to work? Okay. There's plenty of evidence showing we can't concentrate on one element of health, and that's why we've gone to the 8 areas. And we want people to focus on their whole well-being, and then hope that we can help those employees be their best and reach success. So why does it matter? So not all people, employers recognize when their employees are healthy, but it becomes evident when they're not doing well. And so the number of sick days, obviously, that become a focus point, and productivity as well. Healthcare costs continue to increase. And so what they're finding out is that, it helps. And they did focus mostly on return on investment, which is cutting the costs, cutting absenteeism and those kind of things. But it is switched. No matter what you're seeing in those kind of numbers, it is about the employee feeling valued. And so it's gone from return on investment to value of investment. And so when employees feel valued, that their workplace is offering wellness and cares about their whole well-being, that makes a big, big difference. It helps them get engaged, and they want to be engaged and on a road to a healthy lifestyle. So they want to do that. So had asked me to talk about morale as well, and I had to talk about the pandemic. I had to. Guys, during the pandemic, the EAP manager, Jill Anglis, and I met with employees for that whole year and a half. And stress management is kind of my jam. I did my doctoral dissertation on it. I've had extra training in it. It is my jam. So she would explain the mental health part, helping people understand what's going on and why they're feeling how they're feeling. And then I did the relaxation part and teaching them mindfulness and relaxation breathing and those kind of things. So the thing is, what I dealt with mostly back then is people were lonely. Oh my gosh, they were so lonely and they were having a hard time dealing with that. And not only that, and not being around and losing the camaraderie that was happening when you were at work that we took advantage of when we were together. And so that was what they were dealing with. And so that's why we met. Well, guess what? Returning to the office, I'm having to go talk to employees again about the mental health aspect of returning to the office. And that's so funny. You know, it was so polar opposite of what was going on. Number one, they felt loss of flexibility, autonomy, and you know, a lot of people, and I'm going to tell you, I still talked to a lot of employees that everybody's like, oh, but this is the perfect work-life balance. And I'm sorry, but the lines got blurred. And this was somebody from the health department that I talked to that said, because I brought it up to her and she said, well, yeah, my husband was getting our son ready for bed, bed. And I was like, oh, I can go in here and get this done on the job. And that was at 8 or 9 o'clock. So whenever I have to work at home due to weather and stuff, guess what? I find myself working at 8 o'clock. So, the lines can get blurred. They were, and I know it's convenient drop the kids off to be able to take them to the doctors, those kind of things. But we're trying to get employees, managers to work with their employees on that because they still have to have that flexibility. The thing is, but it reduced isolation. In fact, I attended a conference last April. The whole theme was about loneliness. Not only do we have a generation of kids here that's their social connection, it's in our DNA to look eye to eye to people and talk to people. And then I don't know if you guys have heard reports that since the schools have put away the phones, that the kids are talking to each other. I mean, they would be standing side by side texting each other. And I was like, yeah, I didn't understand that. So not only that, but people liked being able to get up, put on the sweats, just pop up. I know Jill even said she'd roll out of bed, her computer was right there, still in her pajamas, those kind of things. And that become, that was normal. But now having to come back in. The thing is, those people that are lonely, that helped reduce the isolation for them. And so what the research and the literature is saying is that returning to work, they're focusing on improved collaboration and teamwork again. I remember, because we talked a lot to DHS employees, and they were like, I just miss being able to go down and run something by, a coworker. Like, hey, what do you think about, they just missed that. And it fries my bacon to be in meetings where people have their cameras off. Because guess what? They're doing this, acting like they're listening, but yeah, they're working. And the reason I know that is because sometimes I did it. So that camaraderie is returning. They're figuring out that it just helps reinforce your company culture, your agency culture. Idea sharing, enhanced collaboration. there's something, like I said, it's in your DNA to be face to face. Because even when and I still have Teams meetings with people, you're looking at them here, but the camera's up here, so you're not really looking at them. They're not really looking at you. You know what I'm saying? So it does make a big difference. All right, so but the workforce is understanding that they've got to try to boost morale. And so employee wellness programs actually does boost morale. I know we piloted the Calm app for 300 people. That's all we bought for. And some comments that came back was, I'm so happy that the state cares about my mental health. Okay, so they do notice that. They boost morale. Employees feel more valued. You reduce the stress, and you want to try to reduce burnout. It's bad enough that we're having to cut budgets and cut people and doing a lot more. And so employee wellness actually helps reduce that burnout that can come from that. And so it's just important. It's for the mental health too, as well. Just the fact that I can go run into an office and talk to somebody whenever I'm feeling kind of fragile. But stress is what really leads to the burnout. So, and you want your employees happy, and they're realizing that. So by trying to boost morale and having wellness programs, it improves physical health. Again, I talked about the teamwork and the social connections. It's improving productivity and engagement with each other. And so you can tell, I worked in the office every day, even through the pandemic. Even when the rest of EBD was, and I'm in the employee benefits department, even when they were hybrid and stuff, I still came in every day. I personally had to have that separation. My home is my haven. I didn't want to do any work there. So anyway, but that's me. What we have done is, with all these benefits, is when you do any kind of programming or wellness activities, you need to try to get them to do it as a group. I know what one program I do, yes, everybody's on and everybody comments, but the Am I Hungry program is a mindful eating program, mindfulness eating. It's not a diet and all that. It's, yeah. And anyway, each person gets their own book, their own journal. So they do their own journey through that as well. But then I still got a message on Teams, and they're doing it from our last meeting chat. There's so much collaboration going on. Like, everybody's like, I appreciate y'all so much, to each other, because they're just all getting involved. So, because that meeting chat's going to go away, I'm actually going to start a Teams group of them, and it will just grow from there where they can continue, Again, the more happy we do rec leagues as well. 3 things about recreation leagues. It takes care of 3 areas of health. It takes care of your social health, number 1. It takes care of your physical health because you're moving some. We've got everybody can be at any level, no matter what, especially in pickleball. You could be a very beginner and play pickleball. So, but it helps relieve stress as well. And the research shows that, actually. So anytime we can do things together, better. And so I started a walking club. That was a year ago, last January, in trying to get employees to walk together. I know I'm partnering with Travel OK and promoting on January 1, state parks across the state, they have what they call first hikes. So it's like, start your year out right, go hiking with somebody, and and I'm really pushing that right now. And so, because I want people to go, I want people to walk, I want them to walk together. You're more likely to do it if you walk together. Now, there are individuals who are highly motivated people that will walk by themselves and stuff, but for the most part, yeah, you can do that for your health, but what about the camaraderie? You know what I'm saying? Walking with the group. So anyway, so activities, we do a lot together. I actually lead employees through desk stretches. I've also gotten certified to do ergonomic assessments, so I can tell little tweaks that will help save your neck, your back, everything. But all the stretches that I do, I learned in the training, I actually did them already with break time. So they gave me a little sheet called ergo breaks, and every one of the stretches I already do. So I pass that out to everybody that I do assessments on. But that's another thing. People jump on a Teams meeting and they would rather do that because I had videos recorded. People want live. I did find that out through everything. People want live. They do online. And I have learned that. So if you have a degree in public health or health promotion, this is going to be just a reminder, just a review of what steps it is to build a program, a wellness program. And you guys, everything I'm talking about is if you're a health educator in a community, you can do this. It's the same. It's the same concept, whether it's at Worksite or in the community. So you assess, you got to find out what information is going on there, what the health needs are, but then also their needs, what the employees would like for your community. Then the planning process is huge. That's a big part of it. Implementation and then evaluation. So assessment is, that's what helps you identify the problems. It helps you set priorities. In the precede proceed model, that is because you can have all kind of issues here, but the top ones are the ones you want to focus on at first. So it helps you set priorities. And the main thing is it's going to help you from wasting resources because you don't want to plan programs when it's something that doesn't really meet the needs, the physical or the needs of the employees or what they want. Because if it's something, you don't plan something that includes what they like, then you're not going to get participation. And preventing that resource waste is huge. So the service needs is the leaders, like in the community, the governor, mayor, all of that, know what the population needs. I mean, you all know, I don't have to tell you because I know you saw the reports on the health status of Oklahomans. And so anyway, they look at that, we need to resolve this issue, and then the service demands is what, again, the employees or your population wants. And this is and they'll tell you what they feel like they need. They will. And so you can collect it. Primary data is, the best one because you get direct into it right there. Secondary, is you look at other programs that's been done, look at other research that's been done. That one saves time and money, but it may not give you your true needs. Planning is where the stage where you determine your goals and objectives from your data. What's the most appropriate path to attain your goals? You can also look at your resources, identify what you have, what you may need. But in this planning stage, this is where I think a lot of people make mistakes, is that you're not doing evaluation early on. Okay, and so you can write a vision statement maybe in here or a mission statement. What is the long-term aim of your program? Who's going to be affected? Okay, what's going to change because of your program? Objectives, they need to be more specific, realistic, quantifiable. Sometimes we forget that part. You want to make them simple and concise. And then whenever you're identifying your resources, that means, do you have the personnel to do? Like, you don't want to have a yoga class with somebody that doesn't know how to do yoga. It's not certified. You want to make sure you've got the program materials you need, what kind of equipment, supplies, finances are the biggest thing. And then are you going to have community partners, going to have collaboration? So those are you have to think about those things early on. Then when you're developing the program, you've got to be very aware of your evaluation plan. When you do that, it sharpens the thinking process through the whole thing. Through your goals, objectives, your stakeholder questions. You know, if you're getting somebody who's investing in the program, giving you money, you need to figure out what questions they're going to be asking. And then it's all about budget. And make sure you have enough to do the evaluation. Make sure you do. So in the planning process, you're selecting activities. Do they fit the goals and objectives? Is it meeting? And because you did your goals and objectives on the results of your data. So what level of influence? Is it going to be something you're going to work one-on-one? Like the OK Health program, I coached people one-on-one. So that was the program. And so, or is it going to be institutional? Is it something that the whole, did the governor go, yes, everybody do this in your agency? I know they used to give money when the OK Health program, when they did budget allocations, they allowed money for wellness programs and to pay those incentives, because they used to pay incentives for the people that went through the coaching. So is it appropriate for that target population? Like if you're going after college students or high school students or even junior high students or senior adults, is your activities appropriate for them? And again, resources, bringing that up. You want to look at what's effective in other programs. You want to see success that's happened in other programs. Do you want to have just one single program, or is it going to have different parts to it? Implementation is, you're going to look at, are you going to pilot? Like the OK Health program, they did pilot it for 1 year with DHS employees. That was back in 2005. And did it work out as planned? I think it did, because they kept doing it, and that's whenever I joined. You got to make sure that your program logistics have been worked out. And then again, part of that early on evaluation is asking the participants. So like, for instance, we piloted a games night. Does that make sense? Board games, card games, that. We're piloting it in we found a location, a restaurant there that's close by the Capitol area. And so we did it for 4 weeks. And right then we asked the employees, right at the end of that, before we decided whether to go on, all about it, what they felt. Was it a good location? Was, all about it, what they liked about it, what, any suggestion, those kind of things. So it's very, very important to ask people who are participating. Do you want to phase in the pilot after the pilot? So like maybe you piloted and it had several things of it. And are you going to phase in part of it? Limit maybe the number of minutes. And we did that with the call map. We told you we had 300 licenses. And it was funny, we had 1,700 people sign up. And I vetted it even further before we actually gave them the license. There were people that signed up that didn't even know what it was. And I'm like, I wanted to ask them, why did you sign up if you didn't know about it? You just kept somebody else from being able to get that license that may have needed it. Anyway, so we're going to do that a little differently this next time, I think. So we limited the number of participants. And then, then you can decide total implementation. So I'm in the process of, because stress is my jam. I'm going to develop my own stress management program for Thrive. We're going to do it. And then part of it will be the call map. I think we've got enough good positive evaluation that we're going to use that as part of it. But then, me, the teacher, I think people need to learn. If they don't figure out what's causing their stress, And that's what I'm good at. I can tell you where your stress is coming from, how to eliminate those things. Um, anyway, always good to have a Gantt chart or a timetable of some kind. What month are you going to promote? What month are you going to pilot? In that month, what week are you going to do it? Really be detailed. The more detailed, the better, because I think it'll help guide you better. Then the final steps, obviously, is evaluation. This is what helps you make your decision. You can find out what your strengths and limitations are for the program. You can, you want to identify where it's weak, maybe where you needed to tweak something. So gives you a variety of perspectives through that process. There's 3 major reasons that you evaluate. Number one, you want to improve the program. And so that's why we do evaluations after every little thing. I mean, we've started pickleball. We've started again the game night, home. So I don't actually do an evaluation on break time just because people come. And so it's ongoing. And so, and they give me feedback all the time. So you want to improve your program. You can identify, it gives you time to identify ways to improve it, get feedback again from the participants, I said. It can give you evidence that the program results were valuable, okay, especially when budget cuts are happening. Somebody asked me in my last session, because our rec leagues, they were thinking that my budget paid for all the rec leagues, and that when you don't have a budget, what you do? I was like, well, that's where it's part of my job to do these rec leagues, but the employees actually invest and pay to participate. And so that's when they really want to do it. And so there are ways that you could do programming that won't cost you. It just, you've got to think through things, look for resources, collaborate. It's huge, collaborate. So I collaborate and I meet monthly with Karen Leinbach, who's at the main office. And we're promoting the Walk of Deeds program. So we're putting it out there for all state employees to be able to see that program's available. And so, but you want to also show the value to your stakeholders, to your organizational leaders. That's why it's definitely why that you need to do the evaluation. You also want to look at, was there a change? Did people actually change? Did you have enough resources? Okay. Anyway, it's vital to the growth of your program is to make sure you've got plenty of resources for it. So you've all probably remember that term, formative and summative. Formatives are very early on. You want to do it. It's also kind of known as process. This is while it's being developed and implemented, especially if you're doing parts of it, you again want to ask the participants, evaluate it. Did we have the right amount of money? Did we have the right teachers? Was the room good? Like, was this facility good to host this symposium? Absolutely, it was. So I love this campus. So got to be ongoing throughout your program, always asking questions. Look at the functioning elements again of your program. Again, all the operations, everything, materials, everything you got to look at. So I'll break the process down a little bit. It helps explain the cause of the program's strengths or weaknesses. So again, that part of the formative is it's going to help you look at the strengths and weaknesses. It'll help you to when you need to modify it and how to improve the program. And again, always ask, always talk to the people that are participating. You want to make the changes as you can before full implementation. So, all right. Summative. Did your program meet the goals, predetermined goals and objectives? Our goal and objective for the games night was for people to meet new people, build on the social health. It helped with relaxation. I know you're probably gonna laugh this, but I have to be a basketball coach in our basketball league because there are people who want to play, but their agency doesn't have a team. So I get to put them together. I was married to a basketball player, so I know quite a bit about it, but I let them coach each other out on the court. So yeah, I know my place. I'm more the administrative assistant, rebound, block out, that kind of stuff. But anyway, so I got to go to game night a couple times before it started. It brought back memories of whenever I was younger, uh, when we would have friends over to play cards, board games. It's just such a great social connection. I know when I went, I was asking I met new people. Well, what did you do? And then we would laugh. I mean, we just got to know each other. And this one girl come over that was very, she was by herself and everything. And so I was like, these people were finished with their game. And they're like, hey, could you guys go over there and sit with her and get her involved in something? And so they did. It was great. It's great. So it definitely was success, and we're continuing on. The basketball's good, guys. They're people that played sports. They love it. And anyway, did it achieve what we wanted to do? Did it have an impact? Yeah, I think it had an impact on people that had been lonely again. So, and everybody's going, hey, you want to come on? Hey, come join us over here. So it's growing, and it's just achieving everything we wanted. So anyway, again, you can collect quantitative data if you want, but you want to do an impact and an outcome evaluation. So the impact is immediate, short-term observable changes, the effects of the program. So wanted to see if your objectives were met. And what you can do is look at, which is usually indicated by knowledge, attitudes, beliefs, skill development. So this is like in the Am I Hungry program. Did people learn to pause and ask themselves, am I really hungry? Now, Dr. May even says, nobody's perfect. I am not perfect all the time. I say that too. But one thing that happened, one of the ladies participating was diabetic. She said, since I started paying attention and stopped the stress eating and just got more in charge, her blood sugar levels steady. So did that work out like I wanted it? Absolutely it did. So are people still talking about it whenever they say, because we always say, even if you have an overeating session, don't beat yourself up. But look, what did you learn about it? What maybe got you to that point where you did overeat? So we're getting them to be so self-aware and that relationship with food. And so, so that's what I'm talking about, our beliefs and attitudes changing. And then the skill development. Yeah, I think they have definitely learned skill development there. So the outcome is the long-term effects. So like I said, I'm going to start that chat group and see how it keeps going and just watch and observe how they're doing. Is this past 6 months, are they still doing this? So did it cause demonstrable effects on your population? You want to look at that. Mainly is where your program goals achieved. So that we all have a report, especially if you're working under grants and stuff, you've got a report. The main thing is you can do all kinds of reports to the people that funded it, reports to your leadership, but then also report to the participant. Which I'm going to do. I did an evaluation that's in my Hungry Organization's evaluation, and I'm going to report it back to everybody as soon as I get the results in. And so you've got to communicate with everybody that's involved in that. This is also, again, okay, maybe next time we're going to make adjustments. All right. Why do people don't evaluate? They confuse it with research. Um, it does provide the outcomes, and yes, sometimes you do publish those, but they're confused about why they're doing it. And so you want to have both qualitative and quantitative methods whenever you evaluate, because that is going to give you a true guide for the future. And so anyway, sometimes people are not sure why they're evaluating, and they get kind of frozen in that process. So, but a lot of times it is afraid to find weaknesses, and that the weaknesses might be exposed. And so, believe me, because my budget is so limited, if I put something out there and it fails, of course I'm going to worry about my job. If I didn't go through all of the steps and the processes right to make sure that didn't happen, that it didn't fail. Sometimes they're so afraid they fabricate results. But a lot of it is they didn't plan it in their budget, for evaluation. And sometimes you want to get outside evaluators too, depending on your program. And maybe it pointed out weaknesses like that it was not organized well. Sometimes it can just happen that way. They didn't think about evaluating the formative part process and formative evaluation. So my last little bit, and I hope you guys understand this, because this is going to be about yourself and about your population you work with, your program. But this actually came from a sports psychologist. I studied sports psychology whenever I was in graduate school. It's part of what I did. And at the conferences, my very last year, they started having health programs and presenting on health programs, because what they found is a lot of the mental skills you're teaching athletes, you can teach people about their health behavior as well. So anyway, I loved this. So the 5 Ds of goal setting is to dream, the development, daily, dignity, and the dynamics with those involved. So dream, if everything was possible, what would you want it to be? It's the best place to start. You don't do self-imposed limitations. When you dream, you can do it with your whole heart. So my dream goal for state employees and for Thrive's program, my dream goal is to have the healthiest state workforce in the nation. I'm trying to get that on the minds of people, employees, that they start talking about it so they can start believing it's possible. Every time I present everything, I'm always saying that. Let's have the healthiest state workforce in the nation. Because in my opinion, you do that, you're going to be able to affect your population where you're working. So I loved this. Development. Now that you know what your dream is, what specific areas are you wanting to improve? First, think about yourself right now. I want you to first think about yourself. Consider your desired level of performance. Figure out where you're at currently. This could be personally. This could be if it's a personal health challenge, if it's a work challenge, your job challenge, and then the population you're working with. You want to set a target date you'd like to achieve. Now, I'm telling you the dream goal. Am I thinking this is going to happen in a year? Absolutely not. I have to look at that long term, but think of what milestones am I going to make to do that? And so you have to but you do have to set some priorities because that's what's going to affect the next two steps that I'm talking about. You want to monitor yourself. You notice that says improved level. Okay. Improved level. And that's where once you set that, then you got to start figuring out daily, what am I going to do? What am I going to do daily for my job? What am I going to do daily for my health? What am I going to do daily for the population? Thinking about where you're going. You want to do something daily to achieve your developmental goals. You can do it each night, the end of the workday, the beginning of the workday. It can be physical, tactical, technical, mental, emotional. Then review the progress at the end of the day. Like, for instance, something I would love everybody to do is to get up from their desk. Desk jobs are kicking our tails, guys. Get up from your desk every hour, 2 minutes, all it takes. You'd be surprised at the outcomes and prevention of what you could do. Stretch, do the stretching. Just move, do the stretching. The Brain Health Institute, I participated in their ongoing research. They also say give yourself brain breaks. And that means where you don't look at your computer, you definitely don't look at your phone. You just focus on, I go to a window and watch trees blowing or something, just not focusing on anything, just giving your brain a break. And they actually say you should do that 7 times. And that could include evening, you know what I'm saying? But anyway, think about this. And then dignity. I always think of the movie, was it Rudy, where he wanted to play football? And you know his stature. I mean, they did let him get in on the one game, but sometimes you have to look at your own limitations for your physical health, your own limitations on the job, your own limitations as far as money to do what you want to do. Sometimes you have to accept where you're at, but enjoy the process, giving it your best, like I said, I worked my tail off since 2020, trying to come up with stuff for people, but I was limited because it was just me. So, and I had to accept that because I nearly burned myself out. So, and dynamics with those involved. Every successful athlete, every successful leader, everybody who's trying to do something had support groups. They had the support. They always have, they're surrounding themselves with support. Okay. Number one, I don't know if you've heard of a Johari window where maybe you're going at something and you're not seeing maybe where you're making a mistake, but others might. So you want them to speak up to you, and you want to accept that. You want, because sometimes we don't see the roadblocks. And so you need encouragement from time to time. It could be, again, supporters out here, collaborators. Like I said, Karen Leinbach and I meet monthly, and sometimes it's not always about programming. Sometimes it's just unloading on each other, trying to encourage each other. And so, yeah, you need somebody. You need support to do whatever you're trying to do. I needed support. I finally got somebody, but I finally also have a manager who believed, because she did a little bit of wellness in her past job. So she has been the best support for me, trying to get me whatever I'm wanting to do. So, all right, I may finish early. We might get to go to lunch. Anybody have questions about what Thrive is doing or any of this? I'm not going to be like Linda Clark. I'm not going to come up to you and say, tell me, did you have your?
Yeah, my question would be, are you having a hard time with the buy-in? I know for us, we talk about Thrive a lot, but I don't really kind of see the back end, how many people are using it, and within the organization. Kind of what's your thought behind?
I have to turn in a report bi-monthly no, bi-monthly, bi-week, well, first and the 15th, I have to turn in a report of participation. So yeah, it's there. And our numbers in our rec leagues, everything we're doing, we collect numbers. Yeah, keep track of it. I have 10 minutes left. We're going to finish before 10 minutes. So, did that answer your question, or what do you?
I'm just mostly trying to get to like, how do you change people's mind about being kind of just accepting that this is still wellness and really kind of looking for these opportunities to plug into the program.
So, I have contacted every agency. It was a big part of the program when I first came. They're called wellness coordinators, and they have been, they're like our fingers and trying to get people for them to help support what we're doing. And I'll be honest with you, there was a time that people thought that was in the rear and they didn't participate. So now all employees are supposed to be getting our Level Up newsletter so that they can see what Tribe's doing. And so, but mainly that back end, you would not believe how many people said, I didn't know anything about this. And I'm like, what else can I do? Read the newsletter, because everybody gets a newsletter so much that they're deleting. So that's kind of the roadblock, or I'd say one of the limitations is getting the people at the agencies to spread the word.
I know the culture of Oklahoma as a whole, that's one of our challenges, to get people active. So like, it's more than just putting the word out. There's just a lot of energy behind like changing my perspective about working out and being active and all that stuff. Because we've struggled in that area as a whole. So I don't think it's just you.
Yeah, I've got, I work at the junior high here in town. Got about 40 teachers or so, and I just did a wellness activity and 5 people did it.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't get people to try anything. About to start throwing money at them.
Unfortunately, sometimes incentives may do it.
So I work at a hospital and we have a wellness program, and that is how we get involvement. So they have like they get so many. We have a weekly health wellness tip, and you get points for it. And if you get so many points, I think 200 every 6 months, then you get like $75. And then we have a workout calendar where if you do 3 times a week for 30 minutes and do that for 6 months successfully, you get $100. And then we offer a free basic just blood panel to all of our employees. And then first off, so that's free. That's a perk because you know what your levels are. And then if they're in range, they get $75. So I know that's not possible for everyone, but it's been really successful for our employees. So, but if you didn't do money, you could always do like a gift card somewhere, or even if it's like $5 or $10, people would be more apt to try it. Maybe, I don't know.
I had a suggestion one time, of course it got shot down. And then if people earn these points, that maybe they would get a half-day admin.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Because, from classes, you guys know the primary, secondary, and tertiary. It's just hard sometimes to get, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink.
Yeah.
And so sometimes it takes that until they finally, because that's an extrinsic motivation. If they keep doing that and keep participating, they're going to realize when they feel better, they're going to notice it. And then it becomes intrinsically motivated. And that's where your goal is, to get people from extrinsic to intrinsic. And so it's definitely, it's believe me, it's tough. So the more activities you can do that where they're laughing, they're having fun. I have the captive audience, and when I do break time, I give them a health tip each time. And it's pretty potent stuff. And so I get these newsletters from Medscape and Harvard University Health Beats every day. So I get things that they're talking about. And then, believe it or not, Arnold Schwarzenegger has a newsletter that comes out every day. And in it, everything is research back. He talks about double blind study. I mean, proper research has been done with the information he's sharing, and I love it. And I've passed on a lot of that too.
Do you think you find that maybe for older employees that, it's the mindset, cause like when we were growing up, you show up for work, whether you're sick or not. You come in and you work your shift, and if somebody calls in sick, then you are expected to fill in for them, and, you know, wellness in the workplace back then wasn't even a thing.
Yeah. I agree early on that's not, and that's why you have to have some kind of programming that would be attractive to them. Like when employees retire, I still let them come to break time. And I also, when we have our golf tournaments, I allow retirees to participate in our record. I got an 84-year-old playing tennis with me. Yeah, he worked at DEQ, Department of Environmental Quality. He's 84, and he schools us. He's played a long time. So anyway,
I have a question, or, a comment, well, just this question, anyway. I've heard sometimes employees are hesitant in participating in activities. What are your thoughts on if supervisors were supportive of these activities? Do you think that would have an impact on whether the employees?
absolutely would. I've had it where supervisors were not supportive. This one lady even shut her door during lunch, and her supervisor came in trying to get during her lunchtime. And so sometimes you have them that are very supportive, and that does make a difference. Because when we did the coaching, that was ordered by the governor that each person gets 15 minutes to have that one-on-one with the coach. And so, boy, things have changed. All the governors, we're getting ready to have another change in another year. Things could be totally rocked out differently with the new governor. So we just don't know, But yes, I do believe the supervisors are supportive of it. Yeah. And who was it? Was it when Terry Klein was the commissioner for OSDH? He used to do walks on Fridays, walk with the commissioner. So, because it does help when those in leadership practice wellness.
Yeah,
That would be, to me, the biggest change, because then it just trickles down.
right.
All right, so that's how you can contact me. Of course, they'll have that information, but Thrive is, it's all under OMES, but we have Facebook, Instagram. If you guys know about Engage, if you're on Microsoft 365, which I think you all are, anyway, the state, I have a Thrive Wellness community, but that's like the employee Facebook, only state employees. But then I have a subgroup of Thrive Wellness community. And then I do Hardy Solutions videos. We've done them since last January, and they're short videos. And I have a variety of topics. I even got my dermatologist to do one on skin cancer prevention. I love Dr. Brazil. Anyway, she did that for us. I've had OBI's medical director talk about the health benefits of donating blood. And so variety of stuff. We're getting ready to video Ryan showing you how you can cook healthy in a pretty quick way. So yeah, just practical, good information. And you can find that on YouTube if you just search Thrive. But yeah. All right, guys, that's all I have time for. I appreciate you letting me come. Any questions? And you can contact me anytime. Let's collaborate. I'm always about collaboration. Always, always.
Thank you so much. You all have your surveys. I'll take those. Thank you so much. Appreciate you.